You stand up from the couch with a clear and simple mission. The charger is in the bedroom. You need the charger. You walk down the hall, you step through the bedroom door, and it is gone. Not the charger. The reason. You are standing in the middle of a room you walked into on purpose, and the purpose has quietly left without you. So you do the thing everyone does. You stand very still. You look around for a clue. Maybe if you go back, it will come back. And often it does. The moment you cross back into the hallway, the word returns like it had been waiting there the whole time. Charger. It happens to everyone, and it makes us feel a little broken. We laugh it off, but underneath the laugh is a small, cold thought. If I can lose a plan in the time it takes to walk down a hallway, what else is slipping? Is this my memory failing? Is this the start of something? So here is the question, asked plainly. Why does walking into a room erase the reason you walked into it? The obvious answer is the one we reach for first. You're tired. You're distracted. You're getting older, or you're doing too much at once. And sure, all of those things can make it worse. But none of them explain the strangest part. The part where the doorway itself seems to be the trigger. Because researchers have looked closely at this, and they keep finding the same odd thing. It isn't really about how far you walked, or how long it took. It's about the door. They've tested it carefully. People memorize something small, then carry it across a room, and they remember it just fine. Then other people carry the very same thing the very same distance, but through a doorway into a new room. And those people forget more. Same task. Same effort. The only difference is that one group passed through a threshold and the other didn't. The doorway, somehow, is doing something to the memory. And it isn't just one room or one door. Researchers have found the same dip when people pass through several doorways, and even, in some versions, when the doorway is only on a screen. A character walking from one virtual room into the next. The thing that makes you forget isn't the walking. It's the crossing. It's the moment the world says, this is a new place now. This has a name. People call it the doorway effect, and it points to something much deeper than a senior moment in a hallway. It points to the way your brain quietly carves up your entire life. Because your brain does not store experience as one long, smooth ribbon of footage. It can't. There's too much. Instead, it seems to file your life in episodes, in scenes. And to make scenes, it needs to know where one ends and the next begins. So it watches for what researchers call event boundaries. Moments where the world clearly changes. A conversation ends. A task finishes. You arrive somewhere new. The brain treats those moments as a kind of punctuation. The period at the end of one sentence. The capital letter at the start of the next. And a doorway, it turns out, is one of the loudest punctuation marks we have. Step through one, and your brain seems to decide that a scene has ended. The old room is filed away. A fresh page is opened for the new one. Now here is the cruel and beautiful catch. The plan to get the charger. That was never written down in permanent ink. It was being held in the small, bright, temporary space we call working memory. Working memory is tiny, and it is meant to be tiny. It holds just a few things at once, and only for a moment, like words you keep in your head just long enough to dial a number. And working memory, it seems, gets cleared at the boundaries. When the brain closes one scene and opens the next, it wipes the little whiteboard clean to make room for what comes next. So you didn't lose the plan because your mind is weak. You lost it because your mind drew a line. It closed the scene called couch. And your fragile little plan was written on the part it just erased. That's why walking back works. You're not searching your memory. You're rebuilding the scene. Step back through the door, into the place where the plan was made, and you hand your brain the original context. The couch, the dead phone, the half-formed thought. And the plan, which was tied to that place all along, comes flooding back. It was never truly gone. It was just filed under a place you had stepped out of, waiting for you to return and ask for it properly. And this is where almost everyone reads it wrong. We treat the blank moment in the doorway as a glitch, a failure, a small alarm bell about our own decline. But flip it over. The same machinery that loses your charger is the machinery that lets you remember your life as a story instead of an endless, undivided blur. You can recall this morning as separate from last night, this room as separate from the last one, because your brain is constantly, silently chopping experience into chapters. The forgetting in the doorway isn't the system breaking. It's the sound of the system working, closing one chapter so it can be ready for the next. And once you see it, you start to see it everywhere. You open a new tab to look something up, and by the time it loads, the question is gone. You walk into the kitchen and just stand there. You switch from one app to another and forget instantly why. We've built a whole modern life out of doorways. Tabs, screens, rooms, notifications. Each one a tiny threshold. Each one quietly telling your brain that a scene has ended and it's safe to wipe the board. We are crossing 1,000 thresholds a day and wondering why we keep arriving empty-handed. So the next time you freeze in a doorway, grasping at a thought that just dissolved, try to feel something other than worry. You are not losing your mind. You are watching it do the quiet, relentless work of turning the chaos of a single day into something you can actually hold. Your brain isn't failing to remember the room. It's deciding the last one is finally over.